Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, where I cover vampires, werewolves, and other supernatural creatures. In this video, we're going to look at the Norwegian Netflix film, Viking Wolf. I wasn't planning on doing another werewolf video, but I watched this movie and couldn't resist. My next video will be about vampires though. Viking Wolf was released in 2022 and was directed by Stig Svendsen. We're going to look at the origins of the werewolves, the slow process of the curse taking over, and more. If you enjoy videos like this, leave a like. And if you've been watching the channel and maybe you haven't subscribed yet, I would really appreciate it if today was the day you hit that red button. I'm getting close to 100,000 subscribers on the channel, and that would be such an awesome milestone to hit. Thanks to everyone that supports the channel and my channel members. Now let's look at Viking Wolf. The movie begins with a look into the past. In the year 1050, Viking chieftain Gudbrand the Grim set out with 20 ships to plunder Normandy. In an abbey, which is a building of monks or nuns, the Vikings discovered a secret room. The monks begged Gudbrand not to enter. He struck down the monk and broke through the door. He thought gold and silver treasures awaited him, but there was neither. What he found inside that secret room was a wolf. But none of the men that day realized they had just released the Hound of Hell. It came along as they sailed home. By the time their ship reached Norway, all the Vikings were dead. The dog leaped ashore, and thus evil found its way deep into the Nordic woods. Now we're in the present day, nearly 1,000 years after the Hound was set free by the Vikings. We are following the Berg family, stepfather Arthur, mother Liv, and her daughter Tale and Jenny. They just moved to the town of Nybo, which is a fictional town located in Norway. It's implied multiple times throughout the film that Liv's original husband died of some kind of sickness, and Tale has had some trouble dealing with his death. But tonight is the night that her life will change forever. Tale is 17. A boy from school named Jonas invites her to a party, so she steals a six-pack and heads out. At the party, she is left alone, so she goes to find Jonas. She finds him talking to a girl named Ellen. Tale turns away but suddenly hears screaming. When Tale looks back, they are already on the ground covered in blood. She runs down to try and help, but is suddenly attacked as well. She is hit on the back of her shoulder and this knocks her to the ground. By the time she regains her composure and turns around, Ellen is being dragged away. Tale and Jonas managed to survive, but they were extremely shaken up. She wouldn't even tell her mother what she had seen in the woods, instead saying that she didn't see anything. Her mother Liv, who's a police officer, finds a large claw at the scene and takes it with her. After being attacked by the mysterious creature, Tale has her first dream of floating down a river or creek of blood. The next day, the police continue their investigation. They interview the kids from the party, but the only two that know what happened is Tale and Jonas, but they're staying quiet. Possibly because they don't think anyone will believe what they've seen. They find the body of the girl, and they know it must have been an animal because it's torn apart. One of the officers has to leave the room. They think it's a wolf, but the doctor tells them they should call this guy. He's Norway's leading expert on predators.
Listen, William.
We go back to Tale walking alone, and she has a hallucination of the girl that was killed calling her name in the forest. She is so scared that she's frozen, having a panic attack, unable to make a sound. For such a simple scene, this one gave me the chills. After, we see Tale looking up wolves on her laptop, probably trying to figure out what she's seen, and if it really could have been a wolf. So we know for sure that she does have some idea of what she's seen that night at the party. Somebody sneaks into the morgue to take a look at the body of Ellen. We will find out why soon. An older man missing an arm arrives at the police station with concern about the murder of Ellen. After talking a bit, he asks the deputy, "Are you familiar with the term lycanthrope? That's what you, are chasing." Liv seems a bit taken aback by his statement. The man continues, "I know what you are after, because I've been hunting this thing my entire adult life. It's a warg, a wolf, a werewolf." Liv understandably thinks he's out of his mind, but the man insists that it must be stopped before the infection spreads. The bloodline must be severed. Liv gets angry, now thinking the man is insane and disrespectful for talking about myths and nonsense when a young girl is dead. She ends their conversation, but the man tells her that he will be at the campground if she needs help and gives her one final piece of advice. The only thing that will stop the beast is this, and he tosses her a silver bullet. This guy must have went to check Ellen's body first to see if it was really a werewolf attack before he came to warn the police. We see Tali hanging out with Jonas at a diner talking about what happened. When she leaves, one of the bullies from school points out her nasty looking wound on her shoulder. He says, "That looks infected. Do you have rabies?" She gets upset and runs home. While looking in the mirror, she realizes the wound isn't healing the way it should. When she goes to sleep that day, she has her second dream of floating down a river of blood. The next day while walking to school, she has a kind of panic attack. She seems afraid of something and starts hyperventilating. Jonas ends up walking up behind her and saving her just in time though. While in class, Tali begins hearing a strange loud noise like scratching. She looks over and it's a pencil. She's beginning to have heightened senses.
A lot of damage and disaster.
Then a girl in front of her is acting strange. When she turns around, she has a werewolf-like face and sharp teeth. This obviously scares Tali quite a bit, so she gets up and leaves class almost in tears. She is having hallucinations like in The Wolfman or American Werewolf in London, having strange dreams and visions while the curse is taking hold. Next, Tali's in the school bathroom, and she hears someone weeping and crying. When she finds the stall door and opens it, again it's the girl who was murdered. She starts saying, "It's your fault, Tali. Why did you let me die?" She runs out of there as quick as she can and has a little breakdown. That night, Tali is sleepwalking, staring in her sister Jenny's window with a creepy smile on her face. When her sister goes outside, Tali is just staring at the sky, so Jenny brings her back inside. This werewolf curse seems to really affect the person's mind, driving them insane. The body of Ellen, the girl who was attacked at the party, was found earlier, but now the veterinarian William is here to inspect the body. He was the expert on predators that they were told to call. After he looks at the body, he says all the wounds were caused by one animal, and by the looks of the wounds and the claw that Liv found at the scene, it's definitely a wolf. But he says the claw is unusually long for a wolf. After the police get confirmation it's a wolf, they gather a hunting party and go after the animal. They also bring this random photographer, must be from the local paper or something. Probably not the safest place for a photographer. While walking through the forest, the hunting dog becomes alarmed and very aggressive towards something they can't see. They end up finding a dead body, without a head. They leave 2 men to guard the body, while Liv and the rest go on. They come upon the old copper mine shafts and someone says they should check it out, and Liv volunteers. This doesn't look good. And wouldn't you guess it, just a few steps down this rickety 100-year-old ladder, it breaks. She falls down right next to a rotting head. While most of them are looking around the copper mine, the 2 men that were left to guard the body are attacked. While all the hunting team are being slaughtered, Liv is trying to climb up from the pit. The photographer accidentally walks backwards off the pit. I knew he was doomed. Just as Liv reaches the top of the ladder, she is face to face with the wolf. It snaps at her, causing her to fall back into the pit and fracture her wrist. The wolf easily jumps down into the pit and starts approaching her. She unloads her entire clip of bullets into the lichen, but it shakes it off like nothing happened. She quickly reaches into her pocket and grabs the 1 silver bullet that the old man gave her. She loads it up, and bang, she kills the wolf. The next day, Liv is talking to William again. He asks her if they usually shoot wolves with silver bullets in this area. He elaborates by saying he found 8 lead bullets, which should have been enough to stop the beast. But it was actually this 1 silver bullet that was the cause of death according to his autopsy. Liv asks how can you be sure that it was the silver bullet that killed the wolf? The vet says that if you look at the 8 entrance wounds for the lead bullets, that they're in the heart and lung region. Yet the organs inside were barely damaged. However, compare that to wounds from the silver bullet. Massive hemorrhaging, and the surrounding tissue is completely dissolved, like a chemical reaction. So these werewolves are in fact weak to silver, and it seems to almost melt their flesh away. William then shows her something really strange. He points to the paw of the wolf and says, "Do you see anything?" A human fingernail. Liv is shocked. He confirms that the claw she found belonged to this wolf, so it lost a claw and regrew a human fingernail. Liv asks if that kind of thing is even possible. The veterinarian said that he checked with his colleagues to see if any such mutation has occurred before. He said that it would have to be a werewolf, but they're not real. Liv is completely shocked at this revelation. The old man was right. Liv takes William to talk to the old man. The first thing he says is, "So I heard it was a successful hunt." Liv replies, "We lost 4 people and 1 is in a coma. I'm not sure I would call that successful." The old man explains that the werewolf that they shot was old and had been wandering for a long time. He had been tracking this particular lichen for 2 years. He first found it when it killed a boy in Finland, so they travel quite far. The veterinarian doesn't believe this. He thinks there must be some medical explanation for the size of the wolf. The old man pulls out a book. When you hear the word werewolf, you picture a mix of man and wolf, running around on 2 legs, howling at the moon. In the book, we see depictions of a large wolf, just like the one they seen. The old man continues. Most likely, the Vikings brought the poison back with them from Europe in the 12th century. Where and when the species had its origin is hard to say, but humans have always wanted to conquer and command the animal's powers. At first through various sacrificial rites, experiments, crossbreeding with other animal species. William interjects, like a science experiment gone to hell. The werewolf hunter says that a young werewolf can be compared to a dog with rabies, wild and crazy, unpredictable. It is driven by a hunger for human blood. So these werewolves are almost like vampires when they are young. When that hunger is satisfied, it mixes with other wolves and roams over an incredibly vast area. Liv asks what happens when the poison starts working, aka the werewolf infection. He tells her the human will experience a gradual transformation. The senses are heightened, the face becomes more animal-like. Teeth, claws, that is when the animal takes over. There is no way to reverse the process. Once the curse is completed, the human is lost forever. But the curse does not stop until the last beast is killed and the blood circle is severed. The bloodline must be severed. I'm not exactly sure what he means by the bloodline must be severed. Once the wolf that bit Tale is killed, Tale is still going through the transformation, so severing the bloodline seems to do nothing. But perhaps he just means that all the wolves must be killed to stop the infection in general. This werewolf curse seems to have supernatural and biological aspects. It's a curse that turns you into a giant wolf that is almost unkillable, but it acts a lot like a virus, or as the werewolf hunter said, a poison.
But the curse will not stop until the last beast is killed.
Tale goes to hang out with her friend Jonas, but she should have chose a different night. He gets a phone call and has to walk away. Tale begins having some kind of pain, and by the time Jonas comes back, the curse has began to take effect. She turns around and her teeth are sharp and she seemingly attacks him, but the screen cuts to black so we don't see for sure. That night, she has another dream floating down the river, but this time she's covered in blood. The next morning, Tale's mother is rushing off because someone has died. Uh-oh. After she drives away, we see that Tale is asleep in the shed on the ground. She has blood around her mouth, and as soon as she wakes up, she starts feeling sick and throws up. A finger. It soon cuts to a body being put in a bag that's missing a couple fingers. So Tale did in fact kill Jonas. You can see here that her face is actually starting to change shape slightly, looking more wolf-like. We get a quick shot of the werewolf hunter going into the hospital and inspecting the man who is attacked by the wolf. After he sees the bite, he says I'm sorry and pulls out the man's oxygen tube. Definitely did him a favor, to be honest. He must have come here after Officer Berg told him one of the men was in a coma. Up until this point, the veterinarian William has remained skeptical that it was really a werewolf. That is until he runs a DNA test between him and the wolf, and it comes back with matches to human DNA. After killing Jonas, Tale is trying to get on a bus and skip town, because not only did she kill someone, but her face looks different now and she's probably afraid for anyone to see her. Unfortunately, while the bus is going out of town, the curse takes hold again, and this time even more. This is her final transformation into the wolf. Large claws grow out of her fingers and her hands become larger. Her face and teeth start to change even more. Her torso starts to move and she tears her own skin off while hyperventilating and grunting in pain. Her voice and grunts of pain are becoming distorted as well. People on the bus are becoming alarmed at the commotion coming from the seat at this point. We get one more shot of a wolf snout extending in a vicious growl. By the time someone reaches her seat, Tale's head has fully transformed and she attacks the boy, killing him and sending his rubber arm flying to the front of the bus. You can see here that she does still have a human body for the most part. It's just the head that's completely changed. Tale's mother Liv gets a call about multiple people injured in the Nibo tunnel. As Liv starts walking, people covered in blood begin running out of the tunnel, saying people are hurt. The bus crashed, but there's no sign of Tale. Liv finds some of her stuff on the bus though. This is when she puts everything together. The wound on Tale's shoulder, her acting so strange, it all makes sense now. Her daughter is the werewolf. Tale, now in her full wolf form, returns home. She approaches her sister and seems to have a moment of clarity, able to recognize her sister, and stops. But when her stepfather enters the room, he attacks the wolf, electrocuting it with a lamp. But this only pisses it off. They manage to get the car and escape just in time, but he suffered a wound in a scuffle. The loss of blood makes him pass out and crash the car. A bunch of people come out of the bar because they just seen the car crash, just as the wolf arrives. Again, Tale looks at her sister and seems to make a decision to attack the bar patrons instead. The werewolf has already killed 4 people, and it's only been there a few seconds, and it lets out a terrifying roar, or almost scream. Liv now gets a call that the wolf is downtown. She says she isn't sure if she can shoot her daughter, but the vet says he has enough tranquilizers to stop an elephant, so they can do that instead. Back downtown, Jenny attempts to approach the werewolf. Somehow Tale manages to hold herself back from attacking her sister while she tries to reason with her. Liv arrives moments later though with the vet, and they shoot the wolf with the tranquilizers. This again only makes it angry and forces them to retreat into a building while the wolf tries to break down the doors. Lucky the werewolf hunter arrives and tries to run the werewolf over. This does not work though, and the wolf simply climbs on the RV and eats him alive. He also didn't really help the people in the building because Liv is knocked unconscious, the vet is in bad shape with a piece of wood stabbed through his arm, and the only person unharmed was Jenny. Liv wakes up just in time to fight off the wolf. She uses her fractured wrist with the cast to fight off Tale so that she can't bite her skin. Very smart. She yells for William to get another tranq dart, but he can't reach one because he's pinned to the ground. Good thing Jenny is right there and grabs one and stabs into the wolf's back. Apparently it takes 2 tranq darts to take down a werewolf. At the end of the film, Tale is still stuck in her werewolf form, sedated on a medical bed. Her mother Liv says a couple heartfelt words and then loads a silver bullet into her pistol, puts it against the wolf's head, and well, we never actually see her pull the trigger. We see Liv go home after, and she looks at a picture of her daughter and sets a silver bullet down on the table with slightly eerie music playing. This is meant to be an ambiguous ending. Did she shoot Tale or not? The music that plays leads me to believe that she didn't shoot her daughter and that she's still alive, but it's possible the bullet is like some kind of memento to remember her by. Kind of weird, but what do you guys think? Do you think she shot her or not? These werewolves are basically just large wolves. Historically not everyone's favorite kind of werewolf, but even the old man kinda pokes fun at this, saying that you usually imagine a wolf on 2 legs howling at the moon. The wolf form they chose stays true to Norse mythology, so I think it's fine. These werewolves are extremely strong, fast, and agile. They also have a great healing ability or resistance to damage, because William said that 8 lead bullets did pretty much nothing, and the wolf had almost no reaction at the time. One question I have about the Vikings that released the Hound is, were they truly unaware of what was in that room? Or did they know exactly what was in there and wanted to control it? Like the werewolf hunter says, many humans have wanted to control its powers and do experiments. Also, what did the werewolf hunter mean by crossbreeding with other animals? Like a were-sheep or something? Definitely a lot of things brought up but not fully explained. Something else that I'm curious about is the first wolf in the movie. Was it the original wolf found by the Vikings? If not, then who was it? The Hound of Hell reminded me of Garmr, also known as Garm, a monstrous dog in Norse mythology that is said to guard the gates of Hell, the realm of the dead. He is known as a Hell Hound, similar to Cerberus from Greek mythology. According to some interpretations, Garm may have been a werewolf or a man who was transformed into a wolf to guard Hell. There is another famous wolf in Norse mythology, Fenrir. He is the offspring of the god Loki and the giantess Angerboda. Some people believe that Fenrir and Garmr might be one and the same. Anyway, I thought it was pretty interesting the wolf was referred to in the movie as the Hound of Hell, and Garmr is known as the Guardian of Hell. Could be just a coincidence though. That's my video on the movie Viking Wolf. Overall, the movie had a few things that bothered me, like bringing up a bunch of stuff about the werewolf's history that's not explored. But in the end, the movie kept me watching and I wanted to see how it was going to end. I liked the scenes with William and Liv, also the werewolf hunter. Like I said, some of the things he said didn't get explained, but every time he was on screen, I was like, okay, we're gonna learn something more about these creatures. What did you guys think of Viking Wolf? Was it good, bad, or just alright? I think overall I would give it a 6 out of 10, but very entertaining. Something that kinda surprised me was it's the first werewolf film out of Norway, so I can cut them some slack. If you're interested in werewolf movies, I think it's worth a watch. Let me know if there's any other movies, TV shows, or video games you want me to cover. My next video will definitely be something about vampires. There's a movie I really want to cover, but I also really want to make the video top 5 vampires from video games. If you enjoyed, leave a like, and subscribe if you haven't. It helps out a lot and I really appreciate it. An extra big thanks to my channel members, Roderick, Steven556, Owen Wildish, Joseph Roman, Awesome Pea Shooter, and Jason Miller. Your extra support means a lot. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.